You're listening to the Third Watch News Report for May 11, 2017. I found some information on the internet about these three topics. I also will follow up with all the information I found and additional information so that you can do more as far as getting more detailed reports. I'm just going to go over a few things. First, the alert on May 9th, 2017, the PUREX tunnel collapsed. There was a portion of the tunnel where nuclear waste was supposed to be, I don't know, transported or something like that along those lines. But I'm sorry if I don't have the specifics, but that's why I put the information below. And then a follow-up story to the West Coast, Northern California norovirus outbreak. We're going to go ahead and look at these images, and then we're going to follow it up with information about how or what to look for if you have been exposed to nuclear chemicals. And let's go to this report. This was what we saw yesterday. The emergency declared at Hanford nuclear site in Washington State. This is from ABC News. And then, you know, when the sirens go off, that's a pretty good indication that that's the reaction that you would expect, right? And then there was a follow-up that there was nothing wrong. But then this report comes out. I found this at BP Earthwatch. Okay, so let's go look at what happens to somebody when they're exposed to plutonium. Isotopes found in spent MOX fuel, radioactive depleted uranium, and the facilities dying within days. I didn't get too far with that, but why is plutonium more dangerous than uranium? I found this at Live Science. Scientists said the fusion byproducts and nuclear disaster, and they go into that. I'll, again, put that information below. Here are some of the other things to look for. Chemical toxicity, uranium health effects. When you're exposed to uranium, breathing in air containing uranium dust or eating substances containing uranium, and it enters the bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, uranium compounds are filtered by the kidneys, where they can cause the most damage in the kidney cells. So that might explain why they said not for anybody to eat. Okay, so then let's go to this report about norovirus. Okay, now there was a report in California that Sacramento, in that area, I believe, Green Valley High School, or Grass Valley High School or school district, they had to close the school down due to norovirus. So what's going on in the West Coast? We've been talking about this. My brother lives in Northern California. He thought it was pretty scary that I was alerting them. I alerted them 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Ever since the Fukishima disaster, I heard today that they're really shaken up by this because I believe one of the other nuclear plants is actually starting to melt down completely. Like, I don't know how much more you can say about this. That's what concerned me about that event in itself. But then this is happening, well, all this other stuff is going on about FBI James Comey. And then something about the Washington State mayor, or one of the, he's running for mayor in one of the cities. He doesn't want to run for re-election. And there was a bunch of buzz about that. So is that a smokescreen? I mean, I'm trying to get around some things here. You know, like, you can't find anything about this norovirus, but I mean, there are people that are really concerned about this, and this is as a result of some other story that came out during the time at Oroville Dam, and all these people were going to these locations where they were supposed to evacuate the area affected by the Oroville Dam, right? And I believe that was around Chico, California, where they were all supposed to meet up at, or that was the evacuation site. And all these people were suffering from an outbreak of norovirus all at the same time. Like, to me, that just I don't know what to say about that. So let's go ahead and look at that report about norovirus. Okay, here we are. Let's zoom in. Botulism outbreak in Northern California. What you need to know. Again, I'm going to do my best to make sure I put as much information in this, because everything about this bothers me. It should bother anybody that follows these stories. It just seems like the target has been the West Coast for some time. And then, of course, let's go ahead and we'll switch down. We'll look a little bit closer to the more, this part of the story. So it says, First, it was Norovirus near Rio Linda. I'm sorry if I can't read this, but now it's a botulism in Northern California. There's been an outbreak of botulism in Sacramento County. Public health officials, and they were down to a single source, saying 4 and 5 cases of contracting food poisoning. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's in Walnut Grove. Is that California? Whatever. Unbelievable. Sacramento River, okay. Suspected norovirus outbreak spreads to Chico Evacuation Center. Remember that? When was that reported? Okay, that was April. When was that? Oh, it was February 19th, 2017. That was during the evacuation of the Orville Dam. So then you go from one emergency to a worse emergency. I mean, if you're talking about a perfect disaster, this would be perfect if you were Bill Gates reporting that over 90% of the United States would be depopulated over what, eugenics? Is this the plan? I mean, let's just say it like it is. There's no hidden message here. I mean, if you were me and I was seeing this report from the East Coast, which we have our own set of problems. Like, I mean, it's one thing to shut down a city over a sports team. It's another to shut down the whole West Coast over nuclear disaster. And we've been following this for some time. And actually, if you go down, I don't know, a couple posts down, not more than a couple, we were talking about radiation exposure, and you can see from these reports, and I'll put whatever other information I didn't report on in the description box about the effects of plutonium, what it will do, what to look for. Like one story I saw about the effects of plutonium and uranium, plutonium being worse, okay, but hair loss, skin irritation, gastrointestinal distress, and death. Okay, that's how severe this is. So could you imagine? I wonder how much of that hazmat gear can actually protect people. And if it gets into the food and goes into your bloodstream, then you have another concern, because then, I mean, it could affect your kidneys greatly. I mean, this is incredible. And you know what? The way it's being reported, I couldn't possibly really feel comfortable with those reports, because in the beginning they talked about the exposure, and they were talking about how the sirens were going off, and then they said, well, it's not as bad as they think. You know what? That's why we are concerned. So we will follow up this information in the description box below, and we'll look for updates, and anything else we can find, we will put it in that description box for those who need to know more about it. But I mean, I just did a couple random searches just to get some general information, so that would help somebody who's looking for more information. But I followed BP Earthwatch and Linda Kirby and another person on YouTube. So again, we'll put that information below. And we'll sign off here from the Third Watch News Report. Thank you again.